wrong with Mike?
What's wrong is I've been trolled by flat earthers. And what's worse is these were flat earthers who think they can freestyle theories about the laws and characteristics of the world of chemistry. This could take months, but I'll try to keep it to under 30 minutes. Well, hi everybody. Hi, Mike here. Sorry it's been a while. Dad's doing better. I'm a little bit under the weather. But aren't we all under the weather, if you think about it? Well, there's a couple guys in the UK who I think are over the weather because they must be high as hell. And you would think that they could see the curvature of the earth from there, but nope, they still can't. No, can't see it. I came out pretty hot there. Are you guys still there? Okay, cool. Let's back up a bit and tell you about how I used to be somebody. You know who I used to be? I used to be Science with Mike. And you know what? I still am Science with Mike in a smaller proportion. But I also used to be. Apologies to the great, late Mitch Hedberg. I used to do drugs. I still do, but I also used to. That guy was still around. It'd be so amazing. So look, before I get into flat earthers and how they have mental deficits, I'd like to tell the whole Science with Mike story. Once upon a time, back in 2017, I took a calculated risk of allowing my comedy life to bleed into my work life. There were times when that was not a good decision. Not at all. I think what happened was there were people in common. You know, I work at a community college, and I worked there, and I'm in semi-retirement now. There'd be people who would find out, because Dayton, Ohio is a pretty small town. And I was doing a lot of shows, and I was doing a lot of, trying to get on stage as much as possible. And people would talk to each other, and then, students would show up once in a while, which is mildly awkward, frankly. One of your ex-students or one of your current students shows up, and you think okay, we're off campus. And I can just do my act. And I'm not a dirty guy, but it was just still a little, always kind of awkward. But I'm appreciative of everybody who came out. And then that bled into people starting to understand that I was doing comedy on a regular basis. Then I did a contest at the Funny Bone. And they ran a newspaper article, the college newspaper article, about how I was participating in the contest at the Funny Bone. And then I won. Actually, I won the monthly contest at the Funny Bone, and then that became a big newspaper article. That rippled into other people wanting me to do sort of talks at their department retreats and things like that. I did some time at the division meeting, and I eventually kind of attracted the attention of a guy who worked in student services or student affairs, the people who do the entertainment end of the student life. And he reached out to me and said, would you like to do a web series? Because we're trying to do what's called inboard marketing. Inboard marketing, I guess, although I'm not a communications major like this guy was, involves you providing some valuable information to somebody, but then with the hidden guise of it's under the cloak of your organization, so people are somehow going to connect the dots like, oh, this guy did a funny video on science, and so we should go to that college. I'm sorry, folks, if there's enough connect the dots, it ain't happening. I can't tell you how many times I've done a podcast and I didn't sell no damn books. Even though you mention them. Anything you got to mention? Yeah, I got my books, and I never sold no damn books from a podcast. You could be like, hey, you're not doing the right podcast. Yeah, that's the sound of a guy who knows everything. That's how they all sound. Maybe you're not doing the right podcast. Like, I can just choose to go on Rogan or whatever. And they could be like, yeah, 1 times 1 is 1. And they'd be like, nah, this guy's boring. He's too mainstream, man. So the thing is, there's no value in just doing something. It ain't gonna pan out. But I did it. I was like, yo, I gotta show everybody I'm funny. And then I did stuff that I regretted. But I'll tell you what I didn't regret. I did not regret doing the Science with Mike web series. I regret nothing. And it didn't work out great. It turned out to be mostly nothing, but for a couple years, it was great. We were getting good views, mostly on Facebook. Facebook was much better back then. It wasn't a war zone like what we're going to see after the election coming up when it becomes an online civil war. It wasn't like that. It was much better. And oh my goodness, MySpace was even better, but I'm dating myself. We were putting the videos up there on Facebook, and now dude who approached me about doing the web series, he would sling the camera, he'd get a helper or two, we'd put the videos up, they'd go up, we'd film mostly in one take. It would take an hour. I'd blow stuff up. They got tremendous feedback of views. He would be putting $100 boost on all the videos. It worked out great. It felt like the typical fool climbing the hill. And eventually we got to the summit, and it was great all the way, and even after the summit. So did I say enough apologies about how I don't regret anything about Science with Mike? And by the way, if we want to fast forward, what happened was we have experienced a decline because what happened was I got some interest and somebody from the local PBS affiliate in town contacted me and said, hey, would you like to talk about doing some stuff with us? Let's bring Science with Mike over here. And I said, yeah, I'll talk to you for a little bit. And I called dude. And he's like, your life's going to change, man. You're going to be living out in LA. You're going to make it big, man. And I'm like, and then the good news is either because I don't have enough self-esteem or I have a very, very attuned bullshit detector, I didn't believe any of that. And it turned out to be true. Because I'm here right now, and I'm glad to be here with you guys and not killing it in SoCal. So what happened is fast forward the whole story. I talked to the PBS guys. They're like, who owns Science with Mike? I'm like, I don't own it. It's the property of the college. I told the guy. They went and talked to the guy 2 weeks later, didn't invite me, gave him $5,000. Eventually, the stuff is on pbs.org. If you search Science with Mike on pbs.org, I'll pop up. There's 8 episodes, even though we had like 37. And everything worked out great. They got some money. We got some exposure. Wonderful. I don't think dude thought it was wonderful. Dude thought like, okay, you know what we're going to do? We're going to use you now. We're going to use you for live streaming. Yeah. We're going to use you for live streaming. And I felt that even the sort of tone of everything we did was kind of like, yeah, it wasn't like, it was kind of like we had already won the Super Bowl or something. So it was kind of like people were starting to take liberties with things. There was one video where we did like iron and cereal, and I have to go into this later. But I had like dry skin on my nose, And I never got to review the footage before it went out. And I have a dry skin problem on my face. Let's just get that out there. You can't. This is why we do an audio podcast and not a video one. And so, they circled it and put an arrow to it, and I'm like, like, oh, we found a zit on Mike's face. Okay, as an editor, I guess you were pretty funny, even though it's not really your job. Well, let's fast forward a lot. Dude got fired. Editor guy went to another job. All that's left is another guy who I really admire, put it on YouTube, and we had a meeting like, hey, dude got fired. Yeah, we're all traumatized because of the stuff that happened. Okay. So there's still a YouTube channel, Science with Mike, and the last video was way back in April about the eclipse. And I still have the ability to post things to that channel, and I still respond to comments. And I get tremendous comments, tremendously good, and in some cases, tremendously weird. That's the thing. What about the tremendously weird? I get those. I get those here. I mean, geez. I mean, the thing is, you've made it when you get a weird comment. Like, I'm telling you what, the last podcast I did on YouTube, I got a tremendous number of hits. I don't know why. I don't know if it's because I had pedo in the description or something, but I got decent hits, not tremendous. But then you get like the kind of nasty comment. I'm looking at you, bean and cheese, please. Sorry, but this video makes no sense. Such a waste of time. Now, here's what happens when I get these negative ass comments. The first thing I do on YouTube is I go to their channel and look at what they got. And when it's negative enough, let me just tell you a little spoiler alert. They got no content, which tells me they're good at writing they're good at writing a comment, but they know jack shit about putting themselves out there. I'm putting myself out here right now. And if you type a mean comment, I'm at the age where I can take it now. So, that was mostly for me because of the last episode. But I'm, bean and cheese, please. Good. I'm not deleting your comment. I don't believe that anything dumb should be deleted. It was very generic, your feedback for me. But bean and cheese, please, also makes me wonder if you have digestive issues. Maybe you've got a little pain in your gut that is really itching at you, and that was what was reaching out. So, okay, I do some episodes and they go on YouTube, and one of the most successful ones that we had was when I took and connected an oxygen tank to some gas collecting bottles, and we just burned stuff in pure oxygen. Now, unless you're these flat earther guys in the UK, you don't even use the word believe with these people. Oh my God, they hate the word believe. Even if your opinion is that oxygen, it's not even an opinion. Oxygen is part of the atmosphere. It's not the complete atmosphere. And that's how we know, because what people do is they condense air into a liquid, then they distill it into oxygen and nitrogen. That's how we get the orange tanks, the green tanks. And we can take the orange tanks and we can connect them to something. And they don't have to all be orange, by the way. They are labeled oxygen. And we could connect them to a tube and pump the oxygen underneath water, so we bubble it up and make sure that the bottle is filled and we put different things in it and it burns really good. I mean, really good. You know, you put steel wool into a Bunsen burner, just kind of, it sort of like smolders a little bit, turns red. You put it into pure oxygen, bang. Well, I get these comments on that video. It was very successful. I mean, I don't know, tens of 100,000 views, something like that, maybe a little bit less than that. And like these guys spill in here, and they're like, "Well, you'd be silly to think oxygen is a component of the air." Actually, I like to do these kind of unscripted, but I'm going to read the exact comment from these guys. Now, they're from the UK. I'll tell you how I know that later. Their handle on YouTube is Peter and Pete, and they say to this, there is so much wrong with the understanding expressed in videos such as this IMO, in my opinion. Okay, it's still just an opinion, just like a belief. Firstly, no comma, air is made up of oxygen, nitrogen, argon, etc. Secondly, oxygen, so he's saying firstly is my opinion. He's saying secondly, oxygen is dry, concentrated air and nothing more. Given this, it is absurd we breathe oxygen to survive. Thirdly, breathing in pure oxygen for too long periods and too high concentrations is dangerous to health. Nobody can prove or even demonstrate oxygen is a constituent of air. I thought that's what I did in the frickin' video. When people attend education, now that's the thing. Don't tell these flat earthers, don't tell these Flerfers that they're uneducated. That's just a compliment. Because we're educated, but they say we are indoctrinated. We're indoctrinated. That's their thing. Okay, keeping going. But they're indoctrinated too. You should go up there and watch one of these guys' videos, Peter and Pete, and then look at the comments and see all the just absolute womb that these people live in. And I was reading the comment and then I got fired up. Oxygen is when people attend education, comma, this is the comment, they learn about man's fabricated world, and very little of the information contained in education actually reflects the real world. Okay, you know what? We went back and forth about how you could prove that oxygen. You can't really talk to these people, and I'm telling you right now that if this intrigues you people, I gotta cut it off soon because this needs to be a multi-parter. I ended up attracting the attention through the web series and through this stuff because I posted these comments on Facebook, and then some of my Facebook people came after them, and I ended up doing a podcast with a friend who I've done podcasts through many times. And once again, didn't really sell many books through this podcast, but still love to do it. And I went out there, and it was kind of like a debate that was flung upon me. The idea was that we were going to call and talk about a potential debate between me and these guys. And we got into it a little bit. And it was all recorded. And on their end, they recorded it, so I sound quiet. And it got put up on their web, their YouTube channel. And on my end, I sound quiet and they sound really loud because obviously they're recording it through a PC or something. I mean, shit, I could record them on a PC and make them sound quiet. Look, I got it keyed up right here. Listen to these guys.
We're going to have a look at this. In our opinion, there's no oxygen in the air. And some people are just plain stupid to think there is.
Oh my God, did you hear that? First of all, these two guys finish each other's sentences. None of their videos do they disagree with each other. Well, that kind of makes me feel a little bit skeptical. wouldn't you think that two different people would disagree on something? If you go to their channel, they have like their setup is one guy sits on the left. I don't know who's Peter and who's Pete and who's Repeat. There's Peter and Pete and Repeat. Might as well be. They finish each other's sentences. They have the same male baldness pattern. It's like if you looked at their hairstyle, they've got this kind of square stripe going down from the back of their skull into the front, and they comb it forward. It's like if they tilted their head down 90 degrees, it would be like one of those, let's just call it a Charlie Chaplin mustache. All right? I don't even want to mention the name of the other guy. It's a Charlie Chaplin mustache. So they both got both Charlie Chaplin mustache looking hair do up top with the male pattern baldness. They both finish each other's sentences. They both agree with everything each other says. It's like they're clones of each other. And so we're stupid if we know that oxygen's a component of the air. I'm going to hit play again.
We've come to realise that a lot of people, they are stupid. They literally are stupid and cannot think for themselves. And
so I have opinions about this, and I'm going to shut it down here pretty soon. And if this really makes you guys excited, I'll dig into more of their videos, and we can go into more of this. But it's a rabbit hole, gang. And you can't talk to them. You cannot. One of the dudes, the dude on the left, when you watch the videos, they do street demonstrations. And then like people are just, walking by on the street. But then he does there's no such thing as equal reaction is opposite and equal reaction. It's just what NASA's trying to tell us to do. And it's like, why is it everything with these flat earthers is NASA? Everything is like NASA to them. Who guards Antarctica? NASA. That's what the deal is. I'm sorry, I'm really starting to get fired up now. Everything is NASA. Now, as an American, I'm kind of thinking, so let's say we faked a lunar landing. There was plenty of other countries that claim to have landed on the moon's surface. Hell, India did it. Japan just did it recently. I think I haven't looked into that too much, but India did it recently. How come no hate on India? I'll tell you why. Because I don't know if it has to do with the UK and India's past. Oh, see, I could make a conspiracy theory there. We have nothing against India. We used to own them. I don't know. But it's like Indian people are just that damn friendly, I guess, and hard to think badly of. We learned that when you ever had a cab driver that was an Indian cab driver? Like, how to get the 5th and Broadway? Yes, I do. Hop in. And they're so freaking friendly. Let me back up a little bit. I might have gotten in trouble there. I don't know. The problem is, I think these people need validation. And nowadays, with the internet, anything. Look, I've gotten flyers dropped in my mailbox about how Jesus was coming in 1988. When I was a kid, I went to it wasn't a flyer dropped in a mailbox, it was this flyer I took home from like a event. Jesus, the second coming, was in 1988. And then, it looked like a really legitimate document. The internet now, you can go and be Peter and Pete, or Peter and Repeat. Let's just call them Peter and Repeat. Actually, they're not repeating. They finish each other's sentences simultaneously. It's very, it's romantic feeling. You can erect a YouTube site. You can put theme music, by the way, their theme music is all royalty free, so it looks kind of cheap. But then you can put an episode out there and just sit there and talk about it. It seems legit. And so I think these people, now that the internet has given them the validation they need, and that's not a problem. I'm not one of these guys that's into like, let's take it all down because it's dangerous. It's not dangerous. Well, it leads to people to be anti-vax. Good. If they don't want to get the vaccine, let them not. I mean, knew a lot of people who died that way. Let them control their whole life. Let their information stand. You know, there's nothing better with bad ideas than to let them fly. Let them fly. You got white supremacists going to march in your town? Let them do it. Look at what stupid idiots they look like, all 18 of them if you're lucky. Look at them in their stupid ass uniforms. Let it go. Let these guys talk about how there's no oxygen isn't a component of air. It's concentrated air. And that's just enough stupidity as it is. Concentrated air. Do you know what the word like air is its own thing? If you concentrate it, by the way, you can take hydrogen, put it into a test tube, and then light it, and then there's like water there. You can take what was in that thing that the cylinder was, okay, concentrated air. I blew it into the bottle, and it was at the same pressure as the room. Is that concentrated then? Look up. These flat earthers like to really lean on the semantics. Look up the word concentrated in the dictionary. I guarantee you it says really, really large component of one thing and another. Concentrated implies it's a mixture. So you're going to have to go and find another word to describe what your freelance beatboxing is of chemistry. And that's the thing. I think you don't know what you don't know. So, like, we're on the heels of this Terrence Howard thing. 1 times 1 is 2. Carbon is bisexual. So is silicone. Dear Lord, I watch Rogan with him on there. Just to listen to somebody mispronounce stuff means you're just discovering it. You don't even know how to say it. You're the first one that read it, and you're saying it wrong because you live in LA where there's tons of silicone. And I don't want to get into it. They're saline now, if you know what I'm talking about, people. You know, the breast implant things. Stuff that Terrence Howard or these guys, Terrence Howard, hey, planets poop other planets. Okay, fine. These guys, oxygen isn't a component of the air. Metals contain hydrogen. Water is not H2O. That's fine. Let it all fly. That way people will keep their sniff detectors attuned, because it'll be everywhere. And you'll have to make the decision for yourself. You don't need the big media companies telling you what is true and what isn't, because sometimes what they say isn't true. You could argue most of the time. I don't know. I'm not getting into that because Civil War on Tuesday. But please, Elon Musk, take one of the leaders of these Flerfers, put them into space for free. Find one of them to agree to it and to film it and to get back to their followers, because this fad is going to be pooped out like a Terrence Howard planet. That's all I got. Thanks for listening.
Have a question for Mike? Email him at mikecanistero@icloud.com. Can't spell that? Well, then he probably doesn't want to talk to you anyway. Bye-bye.